Hello, welcome to Snooker Pro Tips. I've received a personal message off a player in Canada named Brian, and he's personal messaged me and asking me about elbow problems that he's having with his cue action, and it's sort of throwing his cue action out. Now the problem Brian's got is that he's 6'4". Now the problem with being so tall is that you're going to have a job to get a cue to fit you. And I think this is what Brian's problem is, basically, that his cue actually doesn't fit him. Now, I'm only 5'7", and most standard cues roughly fit me, believe it or not. I'm nothing special, but most standard cues sort of come up to my shoulder. And what you're looking for, basically, in a cue is for it to come to your shoulder roughly, just a little bit below or just a fraction above. But obviously in Brian's case, with him being so tall, and this goes for all players in general, he's going to have a job to find a cue that fits him. So what I'm going to try and do is actually just show you the problems that tall players especially can have when the cue doesn't actually fit them. So obviously me being 5'7", I can't suddenly grow 9 inches overnight, so what I've actually got now is a small cue. And this cue I use for the juniors, you can see there, it doesn't come anywhere near where it should. It's probably about 3 or 4 inches too short. So now when I actually take my stance and have my normal bridge, you can see now that the cue hand here is in a forward position. Obviously now this is not in the correct position, and the elbow actually is already on the slight downward as it is. Now Brian seems a very knowledgeable player because he's mentioned in the message Steve Davis, Jimmy White, and a couple of other players. Now the problem is, Brian, which you were quite correct about with sort of Steve Davis bending his forearm on his bridge. This is well and good for Steve Davis, but in your case, the problem is you're slightly taller than Steve Davis, and the problem you're going to have now is if you suddenly bend this arm and bring it in to try and bring the cue back into the correct position, one, you're not going to have a lot sticking out at the front, which is what you need. You need at least 9 inches to a foot at the front there. So if it is now you suddenly bend this arm in to bring it in, this might be fine. All of a sudden, you could find yourself in a hunched position. Now, because I can't actually see you playing, I'm guessing roughly, and I'm guessing with a lot of things I do on YouTube when I'm doing the coaching clips, when I'm talking to people. But in this case, if it is you suddenly bend your arm in, like I say, you're going to be hunched up. So if I do it with this cue now, if I suddenly bend this arm, you can see now I'm in a sort of like an hunched position, and I can't actually do what I want to do. It's uncomfortable. So if it is, you're now having this problem, roughly what you're looking to maybe is either extend the cue, whether you've got somebody who knows how to splice you a piece on the end. I've played with a lot of players who are quite tall. It doesn't matter that you're very tall. There was a player in the 80s, 90s named John Campbell from Australia who was 6'7", and he managed more than sufficiently. Cliff Thorburn, a fellow Canadian, very tall man, but Cliff got away with it because he only had a very short backswing. He hardly had any backswing at all and sort of punched through the ball, and that's how he sort of got away with it a little bit. So this is the cue that I use, and you can see the difference there in the size of the cue, and obviously now this cue actually fits me. It's just slightly longer than normal, but when I hold the cue at the back, I've sort of got a little bit sticking out there. So my advice to you, Brian, is if there's anybody in the club where you play, or you know somebody, if they use a cue and they've got one of these, which is a mini butt extension, there, just see how it feels once you screw that on to there and sort of play with it like that, because obviously now it's much longer. So it would, more than likely, suit somebody as tall as yourself. Again, this clip is for all the players out there who are pretty tall. There's going to give you more than Brian there. But the problem you can see now, Brian, is once I'm there, and now because I want to follow through the shot, I'm running out of cue. And this is where your elbow problem's coming in, because your elbow now is dropping down. I think if you watch most players, I know Ronnie pushes his elbow through the ball, but if you watch a lot of the players, they're stopping as soon as they hit the chest. So the cue is going through the ball, and then they're stopping, bump there with their hand, and their elbow is roughly staying somewhere in place, so it's not sort of moving about. It's pretty compact and it goes through. So again, it's all guesswork, Brian, and to all the other players who are going to watch this clip who are tall. But I would hazard a guess that the cue you're actually playing with, because it will be a standard cue, is going to be quite short. So if possible, what you might look into is either getting a piece spliced onto the cue you're already using, if you've got any cue doctors over there in Canada who can do that, or anybody who's a bit good on the carpentry side who can do it for you. Or again, just shop around and see if or better still, if somebody where you play has got a cue with a mini, but try that first and see how it goes. Because what you can do then is keep your setup, keep your distance with the bridge, as I say, and then take your cue in hand and take it back, so now it points straight down to the floor. Because I'm just hazarding a guess at the moment that you're either slightly forward of this position, or you're hunched up to try and make sure you fit the cue in, and this is why your elbow is sort of not where it should be. I hope this is, you're going to find it useful. I hope I've answered the question. Again, it's a little bit of guesswork on my part because I can't actually see you. So I hope this has helped you out. I hope you enjoyed the clip. I hope it answers a few questions. And if there are any sort of tall players out there, again, I hope you find it useful. So please get in touch. Please leave some comments. It's been Snooker Pro Tips. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you.